right, welcome to the Fantasy Football Last Call podcast. My name is Joe Bond, founder of FantasySixPack.net. With me, as usual, self-promoted, handsomest person on Fantasy Six Pack. I'm going to call you out there. Dave Eddy, what's up, man?
That was voted on, Joe.
By yourself and your mom.
Hey, how's it going, buddy?
Whatever works. Good stuff.
I know,
man.
That's why it was a tie between me and you. My mom voted for you.
Oh, okay. Well, at least she's got good taste. All right, man. Let's get this show on the road. It was not as busy of a day of football as we would have hoped. We obviously have some COVID issues going on still, so we're missing some games. And obviously the Patriots-Denver game got postponed a full week. We've got the Bills and Titans hopefully playing on Tuesday. We've got the Vikings and Seattle game going on right now. Surprising first half right now. The Vikings are up on Seattle. They're shutting them out right now, so that's a huge surprise. We were talking right before we jumped on air here that we were pretty happy that this game wasn't on the DFS main slate because I think both of us would have had a lot of shares of something on here. So this would have been a game to target for sure, but it just did not. It's not working out. So fortunate there. So let's just jump right into things, man. So you want to lead the way?
Yeah, for sure, bud. We'll start off with the Panthers and Falcons. Panthers win 23-17. Man, another great game from Mike Davis, man. 89 yards on the ground, 9 catches for 60 yards and a touch. And then Robbie Anderson, again, he had 8 catches for 112 yards. Mm-hmm. And then for Atlanta, wasn't a very good game. I think the coach is on his way out, man. But hey, yeah, Gurley, I kind of was going to be in on him. Yep. I was in on Gurley a little bit on DFS this week, and I backed off him just a little bit. 121 yards and a touch, and then he actually caught 4 balls as well. And then Ridley, without Julio, kind of did his thing, 8 catches for 136 yards. But I mean, I was kind of thinking this a little bit last week, just a little bit, and I kind of felt dirty about it. And now I think it really needs to be asked, like, when CMC comes back, how much, if any, of his workload is going to get, eaten up by Davis? Because Davis is playing like CMC light right now, man.
Yeah, I mean, not even CMC light. He's playing like CMC. I mean, it's for real. Call it the offensive play calling, call it whatever you want, but he's the real deal, especially in this offense. And I mean, it's hard to replace somebody because of injury. I think what they might do, if anything, just because high ankle sprains like what CMC had just don't generally go away as quickly as you like. They might work in Davis just a bit more than CMC owners are going to like, just to protect CMC and just keep somebody healthy and productive on the field. Now, if CMC comes in and just lets everybody know that he's back for real, then I don't know how much Davis is going to be used. But I'll tell you, like, as a Davis owner, I've been trying to shop him in a few different places. Nobody's really taking it, which is shocking, even the CMC owner. And I'm like, really? Like, you do realize I'm giving you like 1-for-1 replacement here at this point. Like, he's carrying me right now to some victories. So you can take him. You can give me somebody who's valuable later. Like, I'm still of the mindset, if you can get something for Davis that's valuable down the line, then do it now. And maybe people start changing their mind on Davis and they start, but as the weeks go on, I think we're going to see, his value long term is going to keep dropping, and I just think people know that. You mentioned Ridley too, like thankfully he showed up, but I could have used one of those catches last week, like a lot of people. I did think it was kind of funny that I don't even know how to pronounce his name. Zacchaeus. He was a huge DFS.
I think that's right.
He was a huge DFS play. $3,000, dirt cheap. Lowest value you can get. So obviously, a immediate plug and play. Right, or just a free squares, what you called it.
Yep. Free square. Yep.
Yeah, I just he didn't show up, and I kind of wonder that too. A lot of people were like, do I automatically play him? And you know, in like redraft leagues, and I was like, I don't know. I mean, like, how much was that? Just the game plan was to, you know, shut down Ridley, and obviously it shut down Ridley engaged last week, and it worked. And so Zacchaeus was obviously the next guy up, and he just made it. You know, he just got a lot of targets last week. Interestingly enough, you brought up Gurley too. Like, how much are we just like believing in Todd Gurley at this point? Like, I mean, he's looked good, man. What's his 6 touchdowns on the year? 5? He's got a ton.
I mean, I don't know.
It's hard to deny it after this long.
The problem. But the problem is that's a passing team, even if only because they're going to be behind, you know, all year. So
Matt Ryan looks like poo, dude. He looks awful.
I mean, I like Gurley probably more than most, and even I was hesitant to, you know, like I said, to fully play him this week. But I mean, if you're talking like season long, you know, football, then yeah, that's fine. But for DFS purposes, this was about the best matchup I think he was going to get this year.
Yeah,
and I still didn't, you know, pull him. But yeah, if you're talking like season long football, then yeah, I mean, I think if you've got Gurley, you probably don't have better options sitting on the bench.
Not right now. So, all right, we can move on.
Yeah. So, game that kind of went as we expected here with Bengals and Ravens. Ravens whooped them pretty good there, 27-3. Could have been a shutout. So with that being said, not a whole lot going on the Bengals side of the ball. What's kind of interesting though, that, you know, Mixon got 24 carries in a blowout. He only got 59 yards, but hey, you know, he got the workload and he caught 6 balls for 35. So you know, Ravens, you know, they didn't blow anyone out of the water as far as, you know, statistically. Andrews had 6 catches and a touch, and Brown had 6 catches and a touch. But, you know, at the end of the day, I think it, you know, comes down to, you know, the Ravens were, you know, just superior, you know, team in that game. And Lamar did go into that game with not only an, you know, feeling sick, you know, a stomach virus, but also with a knee injury. So
yeah,
I'm personally not going to chalk it up as, you know, a bad outing for Lamar. I just think it was a little bit of circumstance and, you know, maybe even just play into the opponent's level a little bit. That's my thought.
Yeah, I mean, there's already some questions, you know, because obviously Lamar has not been playing up to the Lamar, you know, of last year. Nobody expected that, but it seems like he's a couple steps below that at this point. So people are already questioning it. Then you get today, and obviously there was the knee injury all week. So you do have to kind of like wonder like how much, like maybe he is banged up. I wonder how much that knee really was bothering him today, because he legit really didn't run. I think he ran once all game, and it wasn't for much. I think it was for a yard. So it must have just been like I'm just trying to escape the pocket type of thing, you know. Could it be that they were just reeling, you know, or just, you know, not reeling, they were just, you know, wiping the floor with the Bengals, and he didn't have to do it, and so they just protected him and just, you know, were a little more quiet. I don't know. I want to give it another week or two, see what happens here. But, I mean, you know, perhaps Lamar's falling into that tier where we might be streaming him with certain matchups. It's hard to do it with his potential, but and where you probably drafted him. But he really hasn't been killing it like you were hoping. So something to think about.
Yeah, for sure. So next up, maybe, at least in my eyes, the most fantasy-wise disappointing game of the day. It was the Jags 14 and the Texans 30. I kind of expected this game to be up in the, you know, 60-65 point mark, and they didn't quite hit it. Jags didn't hold up their end. Minshew just over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, and DJ Shark only had 4 targets, caught 3 of them for 16 yards. Just not what you wanted to see out of him.
Yeah.
Texans did, you know, a lot better. I was pretty high for DFS on Watson this week, and he did pretty well. He had 359 yards, 3 touchdowns, did throw 2 picks. And then Brandon Cooks kind of arose from the dead and made up for his 0 last week if you owned him at all. He had 8 catches for 161
Yes,
yards
he did.
and a
Crushed
touchdown. Yeah, so he, I had heard and I had seen lots of places that last week they game planned to shut, Cooks out of the game. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but I seen and heard that from multiple places. And then when he turns around and, puts up, a spectacular performance like he did today, it does kind of lead you to question, who is it that you're going to trust more in Houston? Is it Fuller? Is it Cooks? Is it just flip a coin? I mean, I don't know how to make that out, because coming into this week, I think most people would have very easily said, well, it's Will Fuller. And then after, Cooks does what he can do, you go, well, is it Fuller? Like, now I start to remember Fuller is hurt all the time, is inconsistent as well, they're both very similar in that way.
So real quick, you mentioned Shark. He did leave with a back injury, so that's why he only saw 4 targets. Disappointing.
That's right. Yep.
So that sucked. I'm a big believer in Shark, but the guy's got to stay healthy. It's just unfortunate there. The wide receiver core for Houston, man, it's just one that I avoided this year in all redraft leagues. And it's, for something like DFS, like maybe you can take a shot in the dark here and there. But, man, as we saw last week with Cooks, I mean, you're risking really low points. I don't know if you're going to get 0. I mean, I think that's pretty hard to do from a lot of guys.
He's showed it's possible.
But, hey, we had 2 big-time receivers last week go 0. But, again, it's just one of those receiving cores that I just wasn't really excited about this year. I called them, they got a bunch of B and C receivers. They don't have any A guys. So it's like good luck guessing which one's going to go off each week.
Right.
And so that's why I just didn't want anything to do with it. Great game by Cooks, but I don't know. Next week could be another dud game. He could come back with like 3 points. That's just what's going to happen with this receiving core.
Yeah, and that's what makes playing Watson kind of tough in DFS, because you have to stack him with one of those guys. And
you should, yeah.
I do kind of feel like you have to guess at, who's going to do what. And
absolutely,
the odds of them, I mean, they both could go off, don't get me wrong, but yeah, it makes it a little bit more difficult. So next up, a game that did not disappoint, but was very surprising at the same time. We had the Las Vegas Raiders beating the Chiefs 40-32 in a pretty good game, all throughout. Carr had a pretty good day, 347 yards through the air, 3 touchdowns and a pick. And Jacobs even got in there too, 23 carries for 77 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then the guys you'd expect in the KC side of things did well. Mahomes wasn't exactly the most efficient, but his numbers kind of still work out for you.
At the end of the day, he did okay. 30-some fantasy points.
Yeah, at the end of the day. And he had that big, what was it? First drive, like one of the first couple of plays of the game, he had a big, long touchdown to Hill that ended up getting
you and I were
back.
Like, yeah!
I know, right?
Called back.
Yeah, but he ended up going for 340 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. And then Kelsey right back at it again, man. 8 catches, 108 yards, and a touchdown for him. But, I mean, in a game that, we expected some offense from, we got. But Mahomes was a little bit, I don't know how to say shaky, but, I mean, that Raiders defense definitely did a toll on him.
Yeah, I mean, he completed like just a shy over 50% of his passes, which is shocking.
Yeah.
And when they were trying to come back, he just kept throwing him into the ground, overthrowing. He was rattled. It just didn't look like the Mahomes you were, we're all used to seeing, where it's just like he can do whatever he wants to do. Only threw for 1 touchdown, a lot of yards. He threw for 2 touchdowns, but it just wasn't great. I'm not going to say that the Raiders were like, they were like just dominating, but it seemed like it at times in this game. But they still allowed 32 points defensively. Jacobs kind of fell into 2 touchdowns, thankfully. It saved some fantasy because his day didn't look like it was going to be great for a while there.
Right.
I will say Ruggs had a good game back. Only 2 catches, but caught the long bomb. That's what you're getting. That's what you're hoping from him. Just glad he came out of this one unscathed. So, maybe we can start plugging him back in our lineups, sooner rather than later. So.
Yeah, he's definitely a big difference maker.
He
is.
And he opens up that offense big time.
Yes, he does. Yeah, absolutely, man. So next up, we got the Cards at the Jets. We got the Cards 30, Jets 10. Pretty much what we expected out of this game. Kyler Murray got back on track, 380 yards, just one touchdown, one pick, and 31 yards on the ground. Scored a touchdown there, and then Drake kind of did what we've been seeing him do all year. Got his carries. He had 18 of them. Only 60 yards. I mean, not terrible, but not anything spectacular. But same thing that I talked about on our Sunday School DFS podcast is, what's been concerning me the most about Drake fantasy-wise is he had received up to this point 5 targets on the year. So basically a target a game. And he got another 1 target today.
Yes,
and that is extremely concerning. For the Jets, though, I mean, Crowder is showing up for sure. I don't know that you can rely on him, to be a big-time producer week in, week out. But he's what they got.
He's been a monster for them.
Yeah, he had eight catches, $116 and a touchdown today. For anyone who is still playing or keeping track of it, Le'Veon Bell had 13 carries for 60 yards. But I think the question really that comes out of this game, because I don't think Drake is necessarily a question at this point. I think I'm going to need to see him once at least, if not twice, kind of get back into where we wanted to see him. So it's a question of, after a couple poor games back-to-back against easy teams, easy defenses, like the Jets, Murray, was back at it. So, is it Murray? Was he in a little slump? Was it a coincidence? I think that's the question.
I think it's this offense isn't quite clicking on all cylinders as we all hoped. Is that Dalvin Cook pulling up with a quad injury? Oh no.
Uh-oh.
That's bad news. He's pulling up with the inside of his quad. Oh.
You want to hear a fun fact real quick?
Sure.
I have Alexander Mattson as my captain on DraftKings Showdown tonight.
You might be eating in the second half, man. Because Cook looks like he's down for the count, man. I don't know. That looks bad. Anyway.
Yeah, I can't see it, but I don't. I mean, I would hate to see Cook get hurt. That guy's just ridiculously good.
He turned the corner and just immediately. Oh, it looks like maybe a groin. He just turned the corner and just came up lame. Non-contact injury. That's never good.
No, the non-contact ones are typically the worst.
Yep, Madison's in immediately. So, yeah. So with Murray, he's still putting up the fantasy points, so it's hard to bench him. He's just not. He's just not looking like you were hoping here. Early on, D-Hop had a good game, but yeah, Drake. I don't know, man. Thankfully, he scored late. Edmonds got the first rushing touchdown. It was like a 20-something yard run, and I was just like, "Oh, here we go." And then, and then Drake got his late, but still 18. He out carried everybody by a large margin, so that's good to see at least. You mentioned Crowder. Do we believe it? I don't know, man. I saw somebody post something on Twitter, and I just pulled it up. 3 games Crowder has played. 7 receptions on 13 targets for 113 yards and a touchdown. 7 receptions on 10 targets for 104 yards. 8 receptions on 10 targets for 116 and a touch. I'm a believer.
Yeah.
Sorry. I've always liked the guy. He just never really, he just never seemed to be the focal point of the offense. And when he was, I don't know. It seems like he's the only guy there now. And, Brashad Perriman's hurt. Right. So, Bell's crap on that offense, and Gase doesn't like him anyway, so it doesn't matter. So yeah, I'm a believer of Crowder. I think he's going to be.
But that's exactly what scares me, though. Is it's not tremendously difficult to take a particular player, minus your DeAndre Hopkins and Dalvin Cooks and Kamara's, out of a game, and it's not like Crowder is this elite Hall of Fame receiver. So what concerns me, about him is I don't know that you can trust him. I know his numbers have been fantastic, but all it takes is, a team to say, he's not going to beat us. So you're going to have to beat us with Jeff Smith and Braxton Berrios,
That's true.
I don't know. I don't know. He keeps putting up the numbers, so it is what it is. But for me, that's just my concern with him is how I feel like how easily it is to just take him out of the game if you just want to.
I feel you, man. I feel you. It's hard to sit somebody producing right now. I feel like just because we've
I agree.
So much crap going on. So
yeah, to me, he's the opposite of Drake. Where if I have Crowder, I'm going to play him until he gives me a reason not to, and then with Drake, I'm just unless I have to, I'm not playing him until he gives me a reason to. They're just on opposite ends of the spectrum, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But next up, kind of maybe the most shocking game of the day, much closer than expected here. Eagles 29, Steelers 38. Miles Sanders, 11 carries for 80 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now, 74 of that was on 1 touchdown run. So, don't get too excited. But, I mean, he got in the end zone twice. Yeah, for sure. And then former Lion, Mr. I think it's Travis Fulgham.
Yes.
Kind of out of nowhere with his 10 catches for 152 yards in the touchdoall. He was some 6th-round
no
pick
idea who this guy is. I'm not gonna lie.
That a bunch of people have cut, but that's all going to bury the lead in this game because the rookie from Notre Dame, Chase Claypool, 7 catches for 110 yards, which would be a pretty nice game until you add in his 4 touchdowns, 3 through the air, and he ran 1 in as well. So man, I tell you what, Deontay Johnson, gets hurt, and he gives Chase Claypool a spot in that lineup, and as good as Deontay's been, he might have just kind of let Chase take over that role when he gets, even when he gets back. So I don't know. I'm going to have to probably see another game or 2 from him before I can trust him for DFS purposes for that team. But man, if you somehow played Chase today, boy, did you get rewarded.
Yeah, so obviously I didn't think anybody played our weekend warrior, Chase Claypool here. But I actually asked on Twitter, I was like, if you played Chase Claypool, I want proof. Send me screenshots. There was a bunch. Granted, they were all dynasty leagues. So it was like, yeah, of course. Nobody owns this guy in redraft, right? I mean, nobody. There was one person, I forget who it was, who sent me the screenshot of the redraft league, and he was like, yeah, I have a bunch of Titans and Bills and Patriots and Broncos on my team. So I was stuck. So I just threw him in there as a hope play, and 50 points later, you're sitting good. You're sitting pretty. So yeah, I'm with you though. It's hard to trust Claypool week in and week out, but man, he could be, we could be talking after another, decent performance next week where Justin Jefferson territory, where it's like, hey, maybe he's, right up there, rookies with T. Higgins and Justin Jefferson, where, hey, we're going to start trusting him now. But yeah, Miles Sanders got the job done Wednesday. I mean, look, the game was actually, I was surprised the Eagles did as well as they did going against that Steelers defense. Not going to lie.
Right.
So, when you see 80 yards and 2 touchdowns out of Sanders, I don't care how he got it. It could be one big play. You're just thrilled. I was like, I'm going to get 5 points out of Sanders today. I'm happy. I'm stoked, man. And I also had to start Wentz in a league or 2. I was excited, man, after watching this game. I was like, yeah, maybe this team can actually make some things happen. We've all been questioning Wentz. I've been saying it all along. This is not Wentz's fault, man. Wentz is not the problem. It's the offense. It's the offensive line. It's the weapons around him. Maybe he's getting some work in and practice with these other guys, and he's starting to be able to trust them. Fulgham and whoever else. The milkman. So who knows?
See, maybe they should have drafted Claypool. They'd been all set.
Probably.
They'd have won in a blowout.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. So next up, Rams 30. You're what the fuck's 10. Jared Goff. Not too bad of a day. 309 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. But the backfield for the Rams is kind of where I always am looking, And in this particular week, we had Henderson with 15 carries, Akers with 9, Brown with 8. Henderson got in the end zone. Akers was the most efficient, and Brown was just there. So that's an interesting little thing that I'll keep track of on that team, just because no one of those guys seems like they're gonna make themselves valuable enough to really be able to rely on. And then for Washington, I guess really the biggest thing to talk about there was the fact that Alex Smith played a game of football again. And I don't know if we really thought that was going to be possible, year and a half ago or so.
Yeah, man.
So that was cool to see him get out there, even though he didn't do very well. But I really don't think anyone is too focused on that at the moment.
No, definitely not. I mean, yeah, the big story of the game is obviously Alex Smith. Great, great feel-good story. He actually came in. It was funny to hear, like, the reasons why they stuck with him in the second half. They said it was, they were protecting Kyle Allen, and even though he was cleared to come back and play, it was like, yeah, they're protecting him or something like that. It's like, did you see Alex Smith just getting just getting smashed every single play? Like, if you're gonna protect anybody, it should have been him, but who knows? Yeah, really nothing on the Washington football team side here except for Alex Smith. But yeah, you're right, spot on. The thing to watch is the Rams. Like, somebody eventually, I feel like, needs to come out of this backfield. And right now, again, it's Henderson, I suppose. But it's hard to trust. We've thought that before. Then the next week it was Brown, and then the next week it was Henderson. I did think it was interesting that Akers actually got more carries than Brown on his first week back. So I don't know what it means, dude. Like, seriously, I don't. I've got shares of some of these guys, in various leagues, but I don't start any of them unless I have to,
Right.
And I suggest
if I had to
does the same.
Yeah. If I had to pick one of these guys, just gun to your head, had to pick one of them to lean on, if you will, going forward long-term wise, it would be Akers. Just because I don't think Brown is the guy.
No.
Henderson is fine when he, has flashes, but I think Akers by far has the highest upside there, and he would be the only one, if anyone, I think actually comes out of that backfield with any sustainable, reliable value. But
yeah, maybe he pulls like a Sanders.
Probably nobody.
Maybe he pulls like a Sanders last year, where like the second half of the season we see him like bust out. But right now, it's hard to trust these guys.
Yeah, for sure. So next up was, at least for real life purposes, kind of the game that everyone was looking forward to. Colts 23, Browns 32. So Browns are up to 4-1, man. Rivers was not too great today at all. He was getting pressured like a mother. 243 yards in the air, 2 picks. Hilton actually, had a little bit of a game today for a nice change. So he had 6 catches for a very nice 69 yards. And then for the Browns, Baker wasn't great, but he didn't lose the game for him. So he had 247 through the air, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. And Hunt had a pretty nice game whenever you consider, that Colts defense he was going up against.
Yeah,
he ran the ball for 72 yards and 3 catches for 21 yards. So like I said, nothing too fantastic there. And for fantasy purposes, the Browns, they've got quite a few weapons on that offense, and they pretty evenly distributed, all of the yards and the points and everything. But I think the biggest thing I take from this game is just quite simply, for the little bit that Chubb is going to be out, I think that you can fully rely on Kareem Hunt, with him being healthy to definitely lead and be a RB1, like, without question.
Yeah, no doubt. Hunt is absolutely a plug-and-play RB1 at this point. I think I had him ranked 5th this week, despite playing against that really good Colts defense, who actually, they had a lot of, they had turnovers. They had that special teams touchdown. So fantasy-wise, the Colts defense did well for you, but overall, they got manhandled. Honestly, like, it wasn't a great game for them. But yeah, it was it was all the Browns, but just nobody really like exploded fantasy wise here for the Browns, besides maybe Hunt. So yeah, but you're looking good with him.
I think the main slate, the most anticipated game, was Giants and Cowboys. Kind of expected that game to be a shootout, and I mean, I guess it kind of was, but
yeah.
Didn't quite, meet our expectations, but I think we'll get to the biggest news here in just a moment. But let's talk about the Giants first. So on the Giants side, Jones definitely did not live up to expectations for the matchup here. He only had 222 yards to the air. No TDs, no picks. Slayton looked pretty good, though. He had 8 catches for $129, and Freeman is kind of coming along, definitely leading that backfield now for sure. 17 carries for 60 yards and a touch. But for the Cowboys, I don't think anything's bigger than the ankle injury that Dak had there. Almost, I don't know if it's been made official or not, but I'm pretty sure he's out for the year.
I read it right before.
The question's going to,
it's a fracture, so he's out.
Okay, so the question is now going to be what that offense is going to look like with Andy Dalton. He's obviously taking over a much different, a much better offense than he ever had with the Bengals. So it'll be interesting to see. I actually think I may have a unique take on this. So I kind of want to hear your take before I give my thoughts.
So I don't know. I don't like Dalton all that much. Now, is he terrible? No. Is he a step down from Dak? Yes. Am I going out and selling all my shares? Like I kind of joked on our Slack group. I was like, "Oh, I'd sell all your Cowboys." Well, no, you can't do that because people are gonna obviously discount them immediately. But it's one of those. I think you're just gonna have to live with him and hope that he can keep the ball moving with that team. If anything, I think it might actually help Zeke. It looks like it's going to help Gallup. He was looking at Gallup a lot more than Lamb. He's a little bit of a safer thrower than Dak was, where Dak was looking to go downfield with Lamb a lot more. And maybe that was just because, he's the backup. He wasn't getting work with those guys. So maybe as we get the weeks, with him, maybe Dalton does start chucking it downfield to Lamb a little bit more. But immediate thoughts are it helps Zeke, because they're going to have to be a little more conservative, and it helps Gallup because Gallup's playing that sort of, that safer receiver role at this point. So, as somebody who has both of those guys on a couple of different teams, I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's dead obvious that if Dalton's available, on waivers in your league, he's a no-brainer ad. But as far as moving forward, I think it's also pretty obvious that it's a huge boon to Zeke. Whether they start running the ball a little bit more than they had or not, probably really more is going to depend on game script. I mean, the numbers that Dak were putting up to this point this year, I don't think were indicative of his skill level. I mean, he's not a guy who is a 400-yard a week passer. It's just been the way that the games have gone.
And the defense is
terrible, personally don't. Well, right, exactly. I honestly don't think it's a super big downgrade from Dak down to Dalton. I think I think everyone in that offense retains at least 95% of their value. I mean, I could be dead wrong, but I think if you were to swap out Dalton with Dak, or vice versa, put Dalton in there this year, I think he would have probably had relatively similar numbers to what you would have seen coming from Dak. So if anything, instead of selling off your Dallas shares, theoretically, I think, it may be more wise to look to see if you can't steal some,
maybe buy some a little cheaper than you could have before.
Exactly.
That's not a bad idea. So, I don't mind.
Oh yeah, I don't think that it's too bad. I'm actually really curious to see what Dalton's price in DFS is going to be next week, because he could be someone that you can put out there maybe pretty damn cheap as a fairly equel.
Yeah, who are they playing? Actually,
I don't know that it matters.
Arizona, so it's it's a fine
go.
matchup. There you go. Yeah, I mean he might be the chalk play
game.
next. He might be the chalk play next week. So all right, let's get to this last game here and finish things up.
All right, man. Blowout of the day. Dolphins and 49ers, and it did not go the way you expected that one to go. Dolphins beat that ass, man, 43-17. Fitzmagic went for 350 and 3 touchdowns. And the 49ers, I think, were there, but it didn't look like it because they got their ass handed to them, man. Mostert extremely efficient. He had 90 yards on just 11 carries. But, man, Jimmy G was so bad that they benched him in the second half for Beathard. But, Mostert came back, and, he only had 11 carries. And I think that was game script. But, Wilson had 4 and McKinnon had a big old 1. So I think it's pretty safe to say that, even with McKinnon filling in extremely well, that, Mostert's job is very safe. But man, the 49ers just, oh man, they did not come to play today.
No, there's really, I'm just going to throw this one out the window for the 49ers. Like, this is just a weird game. I'm not going to be like, oh, they suck. The Dolphins are awesome. Maybe Jimmy G was still hurt, man. I don't even know. This was just a weird game.
I don't know.
He was just overthrowing guys and missing them left and right. Like, it was weird. I think the only thing that you can kind of look at fantasy-wise here is the fact that you're right. Mostert got the bulk of the carries. Oh, there's a DK touchdown, and we got a almost tie ball game after the extra point. So,
okay.
It's 13-13, actually. I forgot that the Vikings were only up 13-0. So, yep, tie ball game now. So Seattle's about to go back up. Or go up, finally. So, yeah, I mean, this is just a weird game. I expect Jimmy G to get his chance back. Nobody on that team, including the coaches, want to rely on Beathard or Mullins at all. So Jimmy G's got to get right for this team to, be somewhat productive. The defense has to show back up, though. Like, I don't know what happened today. The Miami Dolphins are not this good. So the defense has to step up. I know they've had some injuries, and they've got the big one that happened week 1 or week 2 or whatever it was, but you can't let this happen. So I'm just going to chalk it up to a bad week.
It's going to be interesting, too, because the schedule coming up for the Niners is nothing but tough games. So,
of course.
They've got 5 – I can't remember exactly who they play, but, they have, 5 legitimate, teams in a row after facing – pretty easy schedule to this point. So, they need to kind of get their ass in gear real quick, or before you know it, things are going to be out of hand for them. And
a little bit of that Super Bowl loss hangover. And by the way, I think Dalvin Cook's coming back in the game. I saw him on the sideline running around. So good news, Dalvin Cook owners. So
yeah, for sure.
All right, well, I think that's it for the show. Always good to talk to you, Dave, and hope you guys enjoyed it. Check us out next week again around halftime of the Sunday night game, and good luck to the rest of your fantasy matchups. Peace.